This week's episode of Gozyuger has once again not failed to do something just ridiculous and incredible all at once. This is episode 10 of the series and the first episode of the second round, second arc, second session, whatever you want to call it. And Fire Candle actually gives the opening narration this episode after the events of last episode, which is a first time for him. Tegajun reintroduces Osai, brainwashed by a device on his head. Apparently he is the only one who can use Daijujin, even without his ring, so they have no other chance really. They just do some VR goggles on him, and now he's chill. Okay is tasked to lead him, and even though she's not too fussed about it, she kind of just has to do what Tegajun says. And Tegajun even displays a new power of sorts, I suppose, in this episode, where her eyes light up, and it sends like a wave of energy out, which ends up knocking over some things, and it blows Bouquet's hair back, and I don't know, it was quite cool. And it's, I feel like we could start seeing some more similar to this. Obviously we've seen Tegajun for the longest time, and then it was only in episode 8 or 9 where she started speaking. Now we're seeing Tegajun interact with the other characters, so how long, I suppose, until it's even more sentient than it currently is. I mean, currently it's a glorified Zordon, isn't it? But maybe Tegajun, underneath all of that, is also like a Tegasword. Sumino is caught by Kinjiro working part-time at a food store. She says she's just working undercover for a detective job, but then somebody walks in and asks for his usual, and she just knows what that is. So, why you always lie? She also says she's a very high-class detective of the Reiwa era. Now, I know the Reiwa era is an actual era of, like, the Japanese calendar and an era of Japan, but I'm so used to hearing that referred to Sentai seasons that for a split second I thought she was just breaking the fourth wall. We then hear a voice say, "Do you like the Showa era?" as the guy who just bought food off Sumino gets attacked. She reveals to Kinjiro that she is working part-time at this food store, just in order to help pay for stuff, her family. She's got a lot to be doing, and detective work just doesn't pay that much, apparently. And that's when no one appears. Showa number 1. I've also just realised this episode is called Go Go Go, Showa has arrived, so I don't know what I expected. Hey guys, I'm editing this back, and I realise I forgot to mention what the No One monster did. He basically created a big dome, and everything inside that dome was reverted back to the Showa era. Not exactly time travelled, but just kind of changed. Yes, let's carry on. Back in the cafe, Ryugi is comforting Hoaru on his recent encounter with his brother Kwon. They wonder where he took Osai, but Hoaru thinks he may have an idea. This is of course a reference to the fact that as a kid, he and Kwon, or Hisamitsu, were trapped in the No One world for a little bit. So even though they don't all really know about it, come to think of it, the No One world hasn't actually really been brought up yet. But regardless, Hoaru knows of his existence. Back in the Showa era, Kinjiro is in his element, challenging the No One to the versus battle of the episode. The No One monster more or less instantly wins, and Kinjiro is not happy about this, but it just goes to show the more he is a youngster in the Reiwa era, the more he falls out of touch with the Showa era. Sumino comes across Ayo and Sayori, who are thriving in the Showa era because they can watch the sunset at a vacant lot, a place that used to be, or at least in the Reiwa era, will be a residential estate. But Sayori and Ayo are still living. Like, this era, this bubble that the monsters created, it doesn't turn the people back in time, just the place. And yet the houses are gone, so there's just half the town not have a house anymore, and they're just vibing and thriving with it. That is some Thanos bullshit. Sumino meets back up with Kinjiro, and they both admit the Showa era is amazing, but they shouldn't get too caught up with it, and they should really look at the beauties of the Reiwa era. I realise I'm alternating between them as I speak, I apologise. He then scrounds a whole boiled egg in one, gotta stay young and all.
Stay young.
In the area that isn't under the spell, Ryugi and Hoaru check out all of the circles, or I guess the rings of the city, to find an entrance to the No One world. Something they've clearly picked up on is the fact that they're going through rings in order to get to the No One world. They come across Bouquet, who demands their rings. A team of combatant Ari appear, having the guy's henchmen, and even perform sort of like a half roll call pose at the end. I thought it was nice. It was nice. The attempt was good. We get the return of Wolf Decaliber 50, just as hot as its debut, and Bouquet even has 2 like dual pistols. Dualies, if you will. Fortnite.
Jake Paul.
We cut back to Showa number 1, and he's watching an episode of Kaiketsu Zubat, a real-life tokusatsu from the 70s that was cancelled because adults loved it too much, and it sold pretty much 0 action figures. Crazy reference. Kinjiro and Sumino return, wanting to battle once more. Sumino takes a photo of Showa number 1 on her phone, instantly photoshopping Zubat into the photo with him, and he is mind blown. In addition, Sumino reveals a bunch of legacy merchandise, anniversary merchandise, of Zubat saying, hey look, the Showa era is great because you had Zubat, but like, we got the legacy stuff. We got the anniversary toys, do you know what I mean? And of course, all this anniversary stuff only exists in the Reiwa era. There's even a dish, and I forget the name of it. Noribian, which is apparently a dish that's very unique and classic to the Showa era. And they just dial up Uber Eats and get it delivered, and they're like, hey yo, yeah, this is Showa, but we still have it now, and it comes to you in a second. And by showing that you can still respect the Showa era whilst living in the Reiwa era, they henshin and go head to head. Even with a Showa era inspired Gozyuger theme song. Sorry, quickly, just not to interrupt. Do you want to see my videos early? Do you want to see them ad-free? And join your names credited at the end of the videos? £3 per month, $4 if you're American. Patreon.com/Freeform Studios. I'll leave the first link in the description. Money don't come cheap, so if you can't support that way, subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing does all the same, and I love you guys, and yeah, back to the video. The moral becomes the idea that clinging on to the past, not living in the present, and working toward a better future is the true downfall of Showa spirit, as the people of that era were always working together to see a better future. And let's be honest, what else would the message of the episode be? The civilian is saved, and Showa number 1 is destroyed. Back with the guys, Haoharu and Ryugi are a bit outnumbered. That's when Rikuo shows up in Tegasword Blue. Bouquet is pissed because of course Tegasword Blue is the one she was fighting with when all of her Rikuo merch got destroyed. However, even though I thought she knew, she clearly doesn't know that Rikuo is Goju Blue, or at least the pilot of Tegasword Leon. Bouquet then pulls out her secret weapon, Osai and Daijujin, this time with a new black and gold look. For years, Power Rangers fans have been getting a black and gold edition of Megazords, and I think there's even an Alpha 5 black and gold edition, and they just never existed in any form of media outside of toys. Who would have thought Super Sentai would be the one to give it to us? Rikuo tries to take him on, but is finessed, getting thrown out of Tegasword as the rest of the team join him. Tegasword then speaks to Haoharu, saying, for difficult times, use this. The Ninja Ring that he claimed from Quan last episode then spawns in his Tegasword. Literally last night, as of recording this, I was saying how I wish that we could see the Rangers helmetless but in their suits. Cheers, Toei. Thanks for hearing me out. Haoharu starts feeling an insane amount of power, whilst Tegasword reveals that the Showa spirit works really well with the ninja powers, even though the ninja is from the Heisei era. Heisei. A giant star then spawns in. Now, if you're a Ninja fan or a general Sentai fan, please let me know what this star is, or what it's called, or the fact that it's a big, giant combined star. I'd love to know, because I see it, and the only thing that computes in my little Western brain is the Ninja Nexus Prism. It then splits into 5 individual Ninshurikens, creating 5 separate Tegaswords for each Gozyuger to pilot themselves separately. 5 of them. Holy shit! What the fuck? We've been on for the longest time that there's just one Tegasword, and the Rangers' weapons dismantle themselves, grow, and connect to make the individual Tegaswords. But Jesus, this is insane work from Ninja, no less. And I'm aware that Ninja isn't one of the most loved seasons, so I'm not just going to go off the fact that Ninja Steel is a shit season. I'm aware people don't really like Ninja either, so the fact that this is all coming together in this way is wild. Haoharu takes on Daijujin first, fully equipped with a Decaclaw formation. The rest of the team follow behind, using their individual attacks to fire at Daijujin. They finish the fight with Haoharu's finisher as they rip a hole through Daijujin, destroying Osai's mind control goggles. How many times did I just say Daijujin back to back there as well? That was a lot. And he's back! Hell yeah, he's back. He reiterates how he put his trust in them, thanking them for saving him. However, he is now out of the Tegasword contract. He lost his ring, lost his silver Tegasword. It's a big gut, but I hope he shows up again. He walks off into the distance, but I hope he comes back to mentor the team in some way. After all, he has that notebook about Super Sentai lore. I think it'd be quite cool. The episode ends with Sumino and Kinjiro going back to that little cafe food place that Sumino works at, and she comes up with a nickname, Kinji. And he's like, I don't think so. If you're gonna shorten my name, call me Kin. And she's like, Kinji. And that was episode 10. An absolute banger, an insane way to open up the second round arc of Gozyuger with splitting the Tegaswords. I still hope that one day the fact that we can do this means that we'll get some sort of giant mega Tegasword combination in the future. I had a theory on one of my live streams. By the way, I do live streams. If you guys didn't know, consider subscribing or clicking the bell or whatever you got to do to be notified to be there on the next stream. But yeah, I said on one of my live streams that I hope at some point Tegasword is inaccessible for whatever reason. But obviously, Tegasword is just the red Tegasword, and then you got the weapons that grow and dismantle, and that's how you get the individual ones. I'd really like it if, for every reason Tegasword can't be accessed, So all the weapons grow and then combine with each other to make like a more sort of, you know, Gozyuger-esque mech where they're all a different part of for the Rangers. I think that'd be quite cool. Maybe you disagree with me, let me know, but I think that'd be quite a cool thing to see. Next week looks pretty cool. I'm not going to guarantee that I'll be doing a video on it next week just because I am trying to catch up with some other content that isn't Gozyuger. We've been very Gozyuger heavy so far. This video, the video before that, and the video before that was all Gozyuger. But you guys seem to really like it on the channel, so I'm not going to say anything else. This is of course episode 10, but if you want to see a full recap of Gozyuger's episode 1 through 9, then click the video in the end card. Huge thank you and shout out to Sarah Jane, our Super Dino Mode Patreon.